pathway for retirement Sunday evenings at 5:30.
Enjoy the convenience of a remote car starter from Auto Sounds of Lincoln.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. President Biden vows to retaliate after 3 American service members were killed in a drone strike in the Middle East. The attack raises new fears of a wider conflict. This marks the first U.S. fatalities from hostile fire following months of strikes stemming from the war in Gaza. 3 are dead after a drone struck outside their living quarters in Jordan. At least 30 injured, some reportedly with traumatic brain injuries. President Biden blames militant groups backed by Iran and is pledging to hold those responsible to account. The deadly attack comes as the U.S. tries to negotiate a temporary ceasefire in Gaza and the return of more than 100 Israeli hostages still held by Hamas. The CIA director now in Paris to personally oversee the talks. House Republicans lay out their case for impeaching the Secretary of Homeland Security, accusing Alejandro Mayorkas of violating U.S. law by allowing millions of migrants to illegally enter the U.S. President Biden changes course, now saying he'll shut down the border when necessary if Congress votes to give him that power. It comes as Texas officials defy the White House and threaten to put up more razor wire to keep migrants out, despite the Supreme Court's ruling. Trump and Biden shift their focus to the general election and what's being described as the longest presidential campaign ever, as Nikki Haley resists calls to drop out of the race. Shocking new video of the moment a 10-year-old boy was bitten by a shark while vacationing in the Bahamas. The hunt for suspects after a statue of baseball legend Jackie Robinson was stolen, sawed off at the ankles. Climate protesters target the Mona Lisa, hurling soup at one of the world's most famous paintings. And America Strong tonight. A customer's simple question at a coffee shop and the unexpected response that changed 2 lives forever.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. We begin with some cautionary words from President Biden, who says the U.S. shall respond after Iranian-backed militants killed 3 American service personnel and injured at least 30, all stationed in Jordan. They are the first American service members to die from hostile fire since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. The troops were there to support American forces in Syria and assist the military in Jordan. Their post is called Tower 22. Officials say it was hit by a one-way drone. Some of the wounded are being treated for serious shrapnel wounds. Others are being examined for traumatic brain injury. Since the Israel-Hamas war, Iranian-backed militants have repeatedly carried out strikes from Iraq, Syria, and notably Yemen, where the U.S. and its allies have intercepted dozens of missiles and drones. Iran's foreign minister told our Martha Raddatz just days ago that no one would benefit from a wider war. Tonight, the White House is walking a fine line between fighting back and risking a larger conflict. ABC senior White House correspondent Selena Wang leads us off.
Tonight, the first American troops killed by enemy fire since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. The White House blaming Iran-backed militants for the deadly drone attack on a U.S. base in Jordan near the border with Syria. 3 Americans at Tower 22 base were killed and at least 25 were injured when the drone strike made it through the base's air defenses. The Pentagon says some of those injuries are serious, including shrapnel wounds and possible traumatic brain injuries. President Biden addressing the attack today at an event in South Carolina, vowing to hold those responsible accountable.
We had a tough day last night in the Middle East. We lost 3 brave souls, and we shall respond.
Iranian-backed militants have launched more than 150 attacks on U.S. forces in the region since October. The U.S. has retaliated several times with strikes of its own. Just this week, ABC's Martha Raddatz pressed the highest-ranking U.S. military officer on the administration's strategy.
What would you say to those people who are your critics who would say, look, they're not being tough enough on these militants. They're not being tough enough on Iran.
I would also ask, do they want a broader conflict? Do you want us in a full-scale war? And so we've got to be thoughtful about our approach in these areas, and we can't predict exactly how any one of these groups is going to respond. We don't want to go down a path of greater escalation that drives to a much broader conflict.
That ever-present risk of military escalation. Selena Wang joins us now from the White House. Selena, now that American troops are dead, we're already seeing increased pressure on the Biden administration to respond.
Exactly, Lindsay. The pressure is growing. Republican lawmakers, including Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Mike Johnson, they're calling on the president to take stronger action to stop these attacks. Now, U.S. officials tell me tonight that they do expect a serious response from the Biden administration. But look, the president here is walking a very fine line. He's trying to deter these attacks from these Iranian-backed militant groups while also trying to prevent this conflict from spreading. Lindsay?
From the White House. Thanks so much, Selena. Staying in the region now, ABC News has learned that U.S. negotiators are making significant progress on a deal to free some of the remaining hostages held by Hamas. They include 6 Americans. But the IDF is not letting up, releasing these images of what it says are strikes on Hamas targets. ABC's Matt Gutman has the latest from Israel.
Tonight, that potential breakthrough in ceasefire negotiations with CIA Director William Burns in Paris today, meeting with top-level officials from Israel, Egypt, and Qatar.
Every level, from the president right on down. We're doing everything we can to bring these moms and dads, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters back home to their families.
U.S. and Israeli sources say the agreement would give Hamas a 2-month ceasefire in exchange for more than 100 hostages still held in Gaza. It would unfold in several stages, with women, the elderly, and wounded released first. Israel would also release Palestinian prisoners from its jails and allow more aid into Gaza. The conflict has killed about 26,000 Palestinians, with tens of thousands wounded, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. About 100 living hostages are believed still held in Gaza, kidnapped during Hamas's October 7th rampage. Taking part in that onslaught, Israel claims, were at least a dozen employees of the largest UN aid agency in Gaza. Known by its acronym, UNRWA, an Israeli official telling ABC News that a number of the group's employees were captured by Israel and others spotted on the many videos live-streamed by Palestinians the day of the attack. The UN Secretary General said Saturday 9 of the accused employees have been fired, 1 is dead, and the identity of the others undetermined. And with at least 10 countries, including the U.S., suspending contributions to the agency, officials say the lack of funds could have a significant humanitarian impact.
This measure is extremely dangerous, and it is our hope that it will be reversed.
There's some real momentum behind these ceasefire talks, Lindsay. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been under enormous domestic pressure to bring those hostages home. And tonight, his office calling those talks constructive and saying that the significant gaps that exist could be hammered out in talks later this week. Lindsay.
Matt, thank you. Here at home, House Republicans have taken a significant step forward in doing something that has not been done in nearly 150 years. This week, members of the Homeland Security Committee are expected to vote on articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over his handling of the border. Details now from ABC's Jay O'Brien.
Tonight, the Republican-led House Homeland Security Committee releasing articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, teeing up the first impeachment of a cabinet secretary in nearly 150 years. The committee accusing Mayorkas of violating his oath of office by willfully and systemically refusing to comply with federal immigration laws and enact widespread detention of migrants amid the ongoing crisis at the southern border.
There has been a willful and refusal to comply with the law and an abuse of power.
In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security calling the impeachment a political stunt and evidence-free, adding the standard set by Republicans would mean, quote, Congress should have impeached every DHS secretary since the department was founded. House Speaker Mike Johnson vowing to hold a Mayorkas impeachment vote in that GOP-controlled chamber as soon as possible. Only the second vote to impeach a cabinet secretary in American history. Meantime, in the Senate, lawmakers putting the finishing touches on a landmark immigration deal after months of bipartisan negotiations.
This bill could be ready to be on the floor of the United States Senate next week.
Sources familiar with the talks telling ABC News the deal gives the Department of Homeland Security the authority to shut down the border if migrant crossings or encounters surge beyond Border Patrol's capacity. It would also speed up the processing of asylum claims. But former President Trump pressuring Republicans not to compromise.
There is zero chance I will support this horrible open borders betrayal of America.
President Biden telling lawmakers if they send him a bipartisan immigration deal, he'll sign it and use it.
Congress needs to get it done.
Back to Secretary Mayorkas. If he is impeached, that would trigger a trial in the Senate where he would almost certainly be acquitted in that Democratic-controlled chamber. The Senate requires a 2/3 majority vote to convict and remove anyone who's been impeached. Lindsay, that is a tall order. Think of it this way. The only other time in American history that a cabinet secretary has been impeached, Ulysses S. Grant's Secretary of War in the 1870s, he was acquitted because there weren't enough votes to convict in the Senate. Lindsay.
So potentially unprecedented territory here. Jay, thank you. Jacqueline Lee joins us now from the border in California. Jacqueline, we heard from Jay that if that bill passed, President Biden would shut the border down. What are you learning about the latest apprehensions as President Biden and Texas Governor Greg Abbott remain locked in this bitter dispute?
Lindsay, we're seeing a sharp decline in total apprehensions. Now, the latest data shows that there are about 4,300 apprehensions per day. Compare that to last month, which had nearly 11,000 apprehensions per day, which, by the way, holds a record for the most apprehensions in a month. Border crossings have typically declined immediately after the holiday season, only to rebound around the spring. In Texas, State Attorney General Ken Paxton denying Federal Border Patrol agents unrestricted access to Shelby Park, stating they will not allow it to turn into an unofficial port of entry. This after the state seized control of the park to arrest migrants, and a Supreme Court ruling stating those federal agents can cut razor wire installed by the Texas National Guard along the Rio Grande. Now, this continues to be a years-long battle between the federal government and the state of Texas as the state continues to fly and bus thousands of migrants to democratically run cities across the country. Lindsay.
Jacqueline, thank you. The battle over the border is likely to be a major issue in November in what could be a Biden-Trump rematch. The longtime rivals are already ramping up their attacks on each other ahead of next month's South Carolina primary. The state's former governor, Nikki Haley, is also going after Trump this weekend, calling him unhinged as she fights to find traction. Here's ABC's Mary Alice Parks.
Tonight, she's the underdog, but still fighting.
He's won 32 delegates out of 1,215, and I've won 17 delegates. This is far from over.
Nikki Haley on her home turf of South Carolina tonight, criticizing Donald Trump for skipping out on debates.
And I think that we need to continue to tell him that he's got to talk to the American people. Because you can't hide behind a camera. You can't hide behind the teleprompter at his rallies. He really needs to come face to face. Man up, Donald. I know you can do it.
Haley focused on proving herself once again in the state she once governed. But Trump's lead there in the polls still double digits, according to 538, coming in at 63% compared to Haley's 29%.
If he's the candidate, I will likely vote for him, but I certainly would prefer probably Nikki Haley.
President Biden trying to build momentum in South Carolina, too, aiming to boost the black vote.
And you push us toward a more perfect union. You really do.
In Las Vegas Saturday, Trump arguing he sees the race as good as done.
Here it's time to finish this primary and get going at defeating.
And Lindsay, Haley also said today that she trusts that jury that rendered that staggering verdict ordering Trump to pay E. Jean Carroll $83 million for defaming her after she accused him of sexual abuse. And this week we are also watching out for a possible decision from the judge that's overseeing that New York civil fraud case against Trump. He could fine Trump up to $370 million in that case. Lindsay?
Multiple court cases on the line there. Mary Alice, thank you. Winter is absolutely relentless for parts of the Northeast. 9 million Americans are under winter alerts tonight, with up to 10 inches of snow possible north of New York City. Boston bracing for a snowy morning commute. Let's go right to ABC meteorologist Samara Theodore. Samara, time this all out for us.
Well, Lindsay, this wintry weather will impact those Monday morning commuters headed to work in the Northeast. All right, so winter weather advisories have been issued from Pennsylvania and upstate New York to New England. The light pink shading that you're seeing, that's where we can see the heftier totals. The steadier snow will fall tonight through tomorrow morning, with this looking like mainly a rain event along I-95, and the last of the snow showers will exit through Boston in the morning. Totals struggle, though, to accumulate as grounds have been so warm lately, but will generally range from 1 to 6 inches, with a bullseye in the Catskills potentially getting 10 inches of snow. Lindsay?
All right, Samara, thank you. It is winter after all. New details tonight from the horrific shark attack on a 10-year-old boy from Maryland who was on vacation in the Bahamas. New images show the chaos in the moments after the incident, which took place in an enclosure. Details now from ABC's Morgan Norwood, and a warning, some of the images in her report are disturbing.
Tonight, we're seeing the horrifying moments a 10-year-old boy was pulled from the water after he was bitten in the leg during a Shark Tank experience at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas nearly 2 weeks ago. Dive instructor frantically dragging the 10-year-old to the surface. Onlookers in shock.
There was a lot of blood. The mom was a hero. She jumped right into action. She started wrapping towels around him.
Doctors Hospital in the Bahamas say the boy underwent a successful surgery before being flown back to his home state of Maryland. Tonight, the owner of the excursion saying they're deeply saddened by the attack and say they're cooperating with authorities. The frightening encounter now raising questions about the safety of these kinds of excursions.
We'll be looking at regulations that might impact activities involving sharks, etc.
And Lindsay, that shark experience still closed tonight. The owners say there's an internal investigation and that they're cooperating with authorities. Lindsay?
Morgan, thank you. A bizarre and brazen crime in Wichita, Kansas. A bronze statue of baseball legend Jackie Robinson disappeared from a park in the city. Thieves cut the 100-pound statue from its base. The sculpture of the man who broke baseball's color barrier holds a special place in the community. Details from ABC's Melissa Dunn.
Tonight, authorities are searching for 2 suspects accused of stealing a life-size bronze statue of baseball icon Jackie Robinson in Wichita, Kansas. The statue cut at the ankles, leaving only the feet behind.
This should upset all of us. What troubles me even more is that the theft occurred just before the beginning of February, which marks the start of Black History Month.
Police say this surveillance video shows the suspects cutting down the statue, then loading it onto the bed of a pickup truck.
If you've got that statue, bring it here today, now.
Robinson, the first black player in Major League Baseball for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. Nonprofit League 42, named after Robinson's jersey number, installed the sculpture in 2021 in McAdams Park, where hundreds of kids play in the Little League.
This is a sacred place. This is a place where we honor a man who broke down barriers.
Lindsay, authorities are now offering a $7,500 reward for any tips. Lindsay?
Melissa, thank you. Still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday. Protesters attack the Mona Lisa and why a woman risked her life by clinging to a speeding car.
When I first learned about my Dupuytren's contracture, my physician referred me to a hand specialist. And I'm glad he did, because when I took the tabletop test, I couldn't lay my hand flat anymore. The first hand specialist I saw only offered surgery, so I went to a second hand specialist who also offered non-surgical options, which felt more right for me. So what I'd say to other people with Dupuytren's contracture is this: don't wait. Find a hand specialist trained in non-surgical options today. I found mine at findahandspecialist.com.
At Fisher Investments, we may look like other money managers, but we're different. You can't be that different. We are. We have a team of specialists not only in investing, but also in financial and estate planning and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, and as a fiduciary, we always put their interests first.
But you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, we have a simple management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Huh, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Shopify's point-of-sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business.
With fast and secure payment, card readers you can rely on, and one place to manage it all. Whatever the stage, businesses that grow with Shopify.
Next tonight, dramatic and frightening video of a woman who was desperate to stop thieves who'd stolen her French bulldog. A bystander filmed Allie Zacharias holding on to the roof of her car as it sped through downtown Los Angeles. The thieves finally swerved and sent Zacharias to the ground. They got away with her dog named Onyx. Police in Chicago are seeking the public's help in finding the gunman who shot and killed 2 high school students on Friday. Robert Boston and Montero Williams had just left their charter school in downtown Chicago when several masked gunmen opened fire. Witnesses say some got away by car, others ran off. Police say they're combing through security camera footage in the search for clues. And when we come back, a skier's nightmare. She was stuck on a gondola all night long in freezing temperatures.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years. When I have customers come in and ask for something for memory, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's safe and effective, does not require a prescription. And I've been taking it quite a while myself, and I know it works. And I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really works so good for me. Makes my day.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
When your child has moderate to severe eczema, it's okay for them to show off. Show off their clearer skin and noticeably less itch with Dupixent. Because children 6 months and older with eczema have plenty of reasons to show off their skin. With Dupixent, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists and allergists, they can stay ahead of their eczema. It helps block a key source of inflammation inside the body that can cause eczema to help heal your child's skin from within. Serious allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Tell your doctor about new or worsening eye problems, such as eye pain or vision changes, including blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines without talking to your doctor. Show off to the world. Ask your child's eczema specialist about Dupixent.
JP Morgan Wealth Management knows it's easy to get lost in investment research. Get help with JP Morgan Personal Advisors.
Hey, David, ready to get started?
Work with advisors who create a plan with you and help you find the right investments.
So great getting to know you. Let's take a look at your new investment plan.
Okay, great.
This should have you moving in the right direction.
Thanks, Jen.
Get ongoing advice and manage your investments in the Chase mobile app.
To the index now, in a harrowing incident at a ski resort in Nevada. A snowboarder tells reporters that she was trapped for more than 15 hours in a gondola above the slopes without her cell phone. Temperatures dipped into the 20s. A spokesperson for the resort says staff members found her when they started the lift for the day. And next, an attack on one of the world's most famous paintings. 2 protesters tossed soup at the Mona Lisa in Paris. The painting is protected by bulletproof glass, and there was no damage. Authorities say the 2 are members of an environmental group and were arrested right away. When we come back, America Strong, the simple question that prompted a remarkable answer.
HCM is a serious heart condition affecting as many as 1 in 200 people. Like me.
And me. It can impact how you feel and what you can do.
I still felt tired on my beta blocker. So I talked to my cardiologist.
About treatment advances in HCM that gave me new options.
It was a breakthrough for me.
That conversation was big for me.
Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com for more information.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo and taking release. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight, and that's what sent me down the path. Was I wanted to make sure and live for my kid, plain and simple.
Salonpas, makers of powerful pain relief patches for 89 years, believes in continuous improvement, like rounded corners that resist peeling, with an array of active ingredients and sizes to relieve your pain. Salonpas, it's good medicine.
Dude, you coming?
Because the only thing dripping should be your style. Plop Plop is Fizz with Alka-Seltzer Plus cold and flu relief. Also try for Fizzy Fast cough relief.
Eggs make all our family moments better, especially when they're Eggland's Best. Taste so fresh and amazing, deliciously superior nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Double Trouble in the Parent Trap on the Wonderful World of Disney ABC tonight.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm on a cruise. There's been an explosion.
Okay, stay on the line with me as long as you can. I have your location. Help is on the way.
Finally, a simple question and the life-saving answer. George Johnson's practically a staple at this neighborhood coffee and sandwich shop in South Philadelphia.
He comes in every day for coffee.
Nearly every day for more than a decade, Carolyn DeFabrizio has been serving him up at Steak 'em Up. Then one day proved to be anything but routine.
I came in like I usually do for my coffee.
After handing her a carton of creamer, George noticed Carolyn wasn't sporting her usual smile.
And I gave it to her, and I said, "Is there anything else I can get you?"
Carolyn's answer came as a surprise.
Yeah, if you got an extra kidney, I'll take it.
Little did George know, Carolyn had stage 5 kidney failure, which had reached the point where she required daily at-home dialysis. Little did she know when she answered that simple question that George, her regular customer, would respond so irregularly.
So I said, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" About a week later, I went and called and got tested, and everything came back that I'm a match. Out of the world full of people, I'm still floored.
The surgery in late December was a success.
Do not give up hope, because God is good and He will be there.
What a blessing. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.
Now, from Nebraska's trusted news source, this is Channel 8 News at 5:30.
We begin tonight with breaking news. 3 U.S. Army soldiers were killed in a drone attack in Jordan. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Mackenzie Johnson. U.S. officials also say more than 30 U.S. service members were injured in that same attack. Officials said the drone was fired by Iran-backed militants and appeared to come from Syria. The attack marks the first time U.S. troops have been killed by enemy fire in the Middle East since the beginning of the Gaza war. President Biden says the United States will respond to Sunday's drone attack that killed three U.S. service members in Jordan. The president made his remarks as he addressed congregants at Brookland Baptist Church in Columbia, South Carolina on Sunday.
We had a tough day last night in the Middle East. We lost 3 brave souls in an attack on one of our bases.
Yes.
And, I'd ask you for a moment of silence for all 3 of those fallen soldiers.
Jesus.
And we shall respond.
As of Friday, there had been more than 158 attacks on U.S. and coalition forces in Iraq and Syria. However, officials have described the constant volley of drones, rockets, and missiles as unsuccessful, as they have frequently not caused serious injury or damage to infrastructure. Well, back here in Nebraska, Senator Deb Fischer released a statement today saying, quote, "Years of placating Iran have only enriched Tehran and emboldened the regime's proxies. Now 3 American troops lie dead. For the safety of our troops and to honor those fallen, the Biden administration must make Iran's regime pay a heavy price." Well, some developing news now on a report showing that youth in detention centers in Nebraska have been confined to their rooms more often. A yearly study is done by the Office of the Inspector General of Nebraska Child Welfare. The data is given to them by each juvenile facility, and the 2022-23 year showed an increase across the board in room confinement and length of confinement. Jennifer Carter, the Inspector General, says the goal of the report is to bring lawmakers awareness to the data so they can look into it further. She says room confinement is used for safety, but the increase is concerning because it isn't a beneficial practice for the youth involved. Carter says it could, in some cases, even make the situation worse.
I also think there has to be a continued effort and growth in the culture of these facilities to not default to that. So, I think there are probably times where confinement's used when maybe it doesn't need to be. But I also think safety and security is a real concern. And so it is tricky to balance for sure.
Carter says her office gave recommendations with the report, one of them being a more in-depth study of room confinements in youth facilities. She says more research from lawmakers could help pinpoint why the numbers are increasing and come up with a focused solution. Well, and some good news now. The sun was out and shining again today. Let's head on over to Kent Boughton with a check of our weather. Kent?
Mackenzie, fantastic weather out there. Sunshine, light winds, and the snow is melting off. However, with that evaporation, it's leading to some fog. Again tonight, a dense fog advisory for the eastern portion of Nebraska, generally along the Missouri River, and a handful of counties in the southeast part of the state. Some of that patchy fog could be in the Lincoln area and northeast Nebraska again tomorrow morning. Nice and warm the further west you go, 58 at Scotts Bluff, 44 currently in the Lincoln area, and it continues to warm up in the days ahead for us as daytime highs climb right up into the 40s, even a run of 50s ahead. That's how we see it tomorrow. Temperatures climb to around 45 in the afternoon hours and then falling off a bit from there. It looks like great weather in the days ahead with some light winds as well, Mackenzie.
Yeah, just beautiful outside. Thank you so much, Kent. And the sun and the warmer temperatures have got some people out and washing their cars today. These videos were sent in on our Now Local News app when we asked you what you were doing to enjoy the sunshine. And getting all of the salt and dirt off your car seems like a pretty good way to spend the day, I'd say. Well, Lincoln is one of the top spots for young people looking to buy a home, according to a recent study examining housing markets across the U.S. America's newest young adults, Gen Z, are currently account for about 70 million people, or 20% of the U.S. population. But for those old enough to have an eye on home ownership, they face challenges such as high mortgage rates and inflation. But the study found that here in Lincoln, home ownership among Gen Z was only about 12.8%, and buying a home could cost about 7 times the median income. We spoke to a local realtor who says despite large price increases in the last 4 years, Lincoln has stayed more affordable.
Being in the Midwest, our cost of living is a little bit more manageable compared to some of those bigger cities. So our home prices reflect that as well, where we're still able to see people be able to get a home at a reasonable price that competes with what the rent is for a similar unit.
She says buying a home is all about saving as much as you can for as long as you can and being patient when looking for the perfect place to live. There's also programs that provide down payment assistance and help buyers make their money go further. Coming up later tonight, we'll hear from a recent home buyer here in Lincoln. Well, Nebraska's facing a shortage of sports officials. Experts say the turnover rate is high, and many of them are leaving within just a few years of starting out. Channel 8's Matthew Mittlatter found out why so many refs are choosing not to stick around anymore.
The NSAA says about 80% of new sports officials quit within the first 3 years, according to a new survey. The main reason they're leaving? Poor sportsmanship at games. Right now, refs, umpires, and officials don't have the luxury of getting to practice before being thrust into the big varsity games. The NSAA says that's because there's not enough of them to go around.
Harsh reality is they're not very good yet. They're learning, they're trying, and they get run off because of a negative experience or something of that nature, or they get put in a game that was overwhelming to them.
Ray Mansky has been officiating since he was 15 years old and says it's not a job for the faint of heart.
I love working with new officials because I've kind of taken on the last few years as a role model. They're just not battle tested enough, and you have to develop some very tough skin, learn what to address, what not to, what to ignore.
Mansky says the last thing he wants to do is throw out spectators, coaches, or players from the game. But the environment around sporting events often gets emotional.
Anytime you have a close play at home plate, or you have a block charge call in basketball, out of the 100% of the people that are there, you're going to make 50% of them happy.
The NSAA says it's trying to incentivize jobs and retain officials longer, but the lack of help is starting to have an effect.
If you don't have enough officials, you lose contests. You don't play the games. Or like in football, instead of playing on Friday night, you play on Thursday night. That's not ideal. If we have more officials, we can play all our games on Friday nights.
They say it will take everyone working together to make the game more enjoyable. The NSAA is encouraging more people to reach out if you're interested in becoming an official. And if you're a spectator at a game, they ask that you be respectful and remember, it's just a game. Reporting in Lincoln, Matthew Mittlatter, Channel 8 News.
Some new details tonight on the former York Elementary School paraeducator accused of sexual assault. Scott Velasquez Lopez was in court and formally charged with 2 counts of third-degree sexual assault of a child. The York County judge also set his bond at $100,000. Lopez was arrested Tuesday night after a school administrator reported the assault. His next court date is set for January 31st. Police arrested a 13-year-old early Saturday morning and cited him for driving under the influence. We've got some exclusive video of the car rolling and crashing into a local business.
If you seen the light pole, he hit that first and then wiped out the stop sign and then just he rolled about right where we're standing and then just somehow it threw him away from the building.
This is the surveillance video that Dave Stanzik found after a car crashed into his business early Saturday morning. His car wash is near 27th and Randolph, where you can see a car hitting a telephone pole and then rolling several times before colliding with the corner of the car wash and finally coming to a stop in the road. Police say when they arrived just after 3 a.m., the driver had left the car. Soon after, officers found a 13-year-old boy walking in the area who admitted to police that he was driving. The boy told police he lost control of the car. Stanzik says the rolling may have actually saved the boy's life.
Pretty freaky. Thank God he missed the building. I mean, you can see where he scraped the corner. If he wouldn't have rolled, he'd have probably hit it head on. And car wash should be out of business for a while.
Police have cited the 13-year-old with a DUI and operating a motor vehicle without a license, among others. Police say the traffic lights were disabled at the intersection of 27th and Randolph for a couple of hours, and traffic was closed down, but it has since been reopened. No word yet on any injuries or if there was anyone else in the car. Still to come on the news tonight, House Republicans have released 2 articles of impeachment today that could put the border deal in jeopardy. More on who they've moved to impeach when we come back.
It's a new year with new deals on the largest selection of new Kias ever. Get discounts and rebates up to $7,500. Financing from 0.9% APR. Kia of Lincoln, Nebraska's #1 dealer in customer satisfaction. 1145 North 48th Street.
ABC's seamless steel gutters are larger and stronger than traditional gutters, carrying away 33% more water from your home and handling even the heaviest rains. Stay dry, look great with ABC seamless gutters. Learn more at abcofnebraska.com.
For the hearts that love, for the ones who care, heart to heart, hand in hand.
The world around us moves fast. With so much happening, it's hard to know where to look. That's why Channel 8 finds your stories and breaking news. When you need to slow it down, to find what matters, to bring it into focus, turn to Channel 8 News. Planting, feeding, harvesting, and everything in between. Whatever the season, join us every morning for Nebraska Ag This Morning, brought to you by Acres Equipment.
The pain level was over 10. There's days where I just sat and cried and asked the good Lord to take me. And my doctor recommended that I go to Good Feet and try the arch supports. And I took about 3-4 steps, turned around and went and sat back down and started to cry. It was the first time that I had no pain. I'm not an actor. I want people to know my testimony. I want them to know what arch supports can do from Good Feet.
See for yourself with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
New tonight at 5, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is facing 2 articles of impeachment from House Republicans. They're accusing him of repeatedly violating laws enacted by Congress regarding immigration and border security, as well as a breach of public trust, claiming he lied to Congress when he said the border was secure and that DHS has operational control. Meanwhile, sources tell ABC News a bipartisan group of senators could soon announce a landmark immigration deal, giving DHS the authority to shut down the border and speed up the processing of asylum claims. But that deal could be in jeopardy now, with former President Donald Trump pressuring congressional Republicans not to compromise.
Zero chance I will support this horrible open borders betrayal of America.
Lawmakers are already expressing concern that if this immigration deal sputters out, it could have serious implications for Ukraine and Israel after congressional Republicans demanded that military assistance for both countries be linked to these immigration reform talks. Well, another news now back here closer to home. Lots of fun things happening this weekend out at the Sandhills Global Event Center. Hundreds of competitors got together to shoot it out in an 8-ball tournament this weekend. 750 players went head-to-head to win prizes up to $2,300 if they could table it. This event welcomed contestants from multiple parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and South Dakota as well. Not everyone is a sharpshooter, but they do keep coming back for the fun. For some of them, it's intriguing to see these familiar faces from year to year at these competitions, and annually, this event sees about 50 new faces join the tournament.
Seeing the faces that come, we see them once a year, so like I said, 5 states, they compete in their territories, and they all congregate here for try to win prize money based on their performance.
And you can cheer on and observe the final rounds tonight until 8 p.m. and it's free of charge.
We're racking up a good weather forecast for you. Things warm up, and I'll have the details coming up.
Duteau wants to know, what are you driven by?
Me? I'm driven by keeping everyone safe.
Right now at Duteau, lease a 2024 Forester Premium for only $349 per month. Or get 1.9% financing on select 2024 Outback models. Become part of the Duteau family today. Online anytime at DuteauSubaru.com.
Abby, don't you know you can save money on gas by paying with your MyPhilip 66 app?
That's not all, CJ. You can also give back to your community.
That's right. 2 cents of every gallon of gas goes to organizations to educate our youth, support families, and raise awareness for important causes.
Team You Stop.
You Stop at You Stop.
Matt Talbot serves those experiencing homelessness or living in poverty with bold hope. We work so one less child is sleeping in a car, one less person goes hungry, and one less family is without a home. Together we can defeat hunger and homelessness. Learn more and give at mtko.org.
I've never dated this many women at once.
I haven't felt this way about somebody in a long time.
No one wants to see that.
I've been feeling some type of way about the other girls.
It was very condescending, and I'm not going to tolerate that.
She's made her mind up. She's leaving.
Do you have a loved one with a fading memory? At Fallbrook Assisted Living and Memory Care here in Lincoln, we are memory care experts focused on improving quality of life. Visit fallbrookassisted.com, an MG senior living community.
Now, your Storm Alert Team Forecast from Nebraska's trusted news source.
We're on about a 7-day run of a dense fog advisory somewhere in the area. It seems to migrate a little further east every day, hugging the Missouri River across eastern into southeast Nebraska beginning at 9 o'clock tonight and wrapping up at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Some of that patchy fog could be in the Lincoln area, where currently we see 44. Cooler at York, 36, and then warmer as you head west with upper 40s in the Kearney area. Winds calm there out of the northeast, or rather southwest, around 7 miles an hour in Lincoln, southwest to 6 in Nebraska City. That flow of air bringing up some of that warmth today. Not much in the way of cloud cover across the region or the state. Again, the models are showing a few sprinkles out in parts of Sheridan County into the Nebraska Panhandle. Other than that, the clouds kind of hug the eastern part of the state into Tuesday evening. Temperature-wise, overnight tonight, pretty close to seasonal, around 25 at Lincoln, 28 through the Tri-City area, 26 pretty commonplace across portions of eastern into southern Nebraska, with highs tomorrow expected lower to mid 50s in the Tri-City area, lower to mid 40s for the most part across portions of eastern Nebraska, 50 expected down at Hebron. Nice weather in the days ahead. Aside from that patchy fog to contend with again tomorrow morning, 45 will be the high in the afternoon, mainly sunny skies, much like we saw today. A little bit cooler Tuesday, then we start climbing up. A new month on the way, and we hit 50s. There is a rain chance, but it's later in the day, probably more like late night Friday, as we see Groundhog Day, and we'll see what he sees indeed. 44 on Sunday, 46 Monday. Temperatures will start to climb again by Tuesday of next week. As we head into Wednesday, we see those lower 50s. Of course, the groundhog, depending on seeing his shadow or not, we will determine whether there will be 6 more weeks of winter. Of course, the scientist that Puxon-20 Phil is, he has a really good idea already, probably what he's going to see, shadow or not, McKenzie. But the best part about this forecast is in the days ahead, more snow melt, more warmth, winds don't look that bad, It looks pretty nice for the next 7 days. Temperatures above normal. Normal highs this time of year, by the way, should be right around 36 to 38 degrees, and we're doing much better than that.
Definitely. I got to take a little bit of a walk outside today, and it was nice. I didn't even put on a jacket. I had a long sleeve shirt on, and it was just right, especially with that sun.
Had that feel of a spring indeed.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Kent.